Patreon Q&A number 68. I want to thank all 100 of my incredibly overpowered patrons. Guys, this is an amazing number, and I really can't thank you enough for all of this support. It really does make things that much better for me. So thank you again, and to everyone else listening, there's going to be spoilers in these questions and answers, so tread carefully. Water Bottle asks, Hello Shonen, do you think Saitama has something beyond his serious series attacks? I was watching Season 1 the other day, and when Genos is training with Saitama and asks him to take it serious, Saitama throws that punch at him with the caption of death. Got me thinking that maybe that might be foreshadowing a death series of attacks that he'd possibly use against a future villain. Maybe consecutive serious punches won't be enough so that he'd throw out a death punch as his final move. So do you think it's possible, and how powerful would it be? So this is a great question, and I was going to make a video dedicated to this topic, but might as well just talk about it here. So yes, I do think that there is something stronger than the serious series of moves. I think that's for sure is going to happen. I mean, given that when he does do the serious moves, it is, I guess, him putting forth a serious effort, but it is not like the apex of his power. Because especially like when he does it with the table flip, the side hop, the serious punch, it doesn't seem like he's like ultimately dead serious, the way like what we're talking about with this quote-unquote death series. Now, the death punch that he did against Genos, I don't think that that is above the serious punch, but it could be giving us some insight into what something above that could be, because the power output of the death punch like created that new canyon behind Genos, and obviously that was ultra impressive, but it doesn't seem like that was as powerful as like a serious punch, like from what we've seen wiping away the Collapse of Star Roaring Cannon and destroying Elder Centipede. Now also, like when Saitama is defending against the Collapse of Star Roaring Cannon, he's like, I have a final move too. So is that his final move? Probably not. It was probably just said like for that in the beginning of the series, or maybe he's discovered something after that. But it's like also thinking like, how does he train these moves? Because like, how does he train like a serious punch? Does he like go out into the ocean or something, like how they test atomic bombs, or like even something that in theory what we're talking about here would be above the serious punch that's easily wiping the Earth away? It could probably wipe away like multiple planets or something like that. I'm not going to go into terms like solar system busting because it's kind of like muddy when we start getting into that territory, but it's probably something like that could be comparable to that level of strength. I'm assuming like obviously way more powerful than a serious punch. So when he starts doing moves like this, we're going to start seeing him use the type of effort that he used against the Subterraneans in the Dream, which clearly he didn't use against Boros. Like when he did the serious punch, he obviously wasn't as crazy serious as he was against like the Dream Subterraneans. So maybe that's when he's going to go into like his death set of moves or whatever the above serious is. Now I'm going to create a whole new level of stuff above serious. Get ready for that. Acoustic asks, hey man, do you think Sonic could beat Atomic Samurai now that he's received the buffs he has in the webcomic? At least maybe keep it competitive. Cheers. So I do think that it would for sure be competitive at the minimum right now, because before, like when they had their encounter in the third audiobook, it was like a complete wash by Atomic Samurai. But now that, he has received the buffs that we were talking about, I think it would be a much different story. So I think it's difficult to say like if he would win or if even Atomic Samurai would win, because I don't think it's clear cut for either of them at this point. But given that Sonic has clearly increased in speed and arsenal and techniques, he has the 10-fold funeral or the 10 Shadows burial now. He could do like the great value version of the serious side hops, and he was able to survive the flashy kick somehow. It seems like it kind of just grazed him. So if he's able to deal with that, like be able to counter that somehow, I think it's fair to say that he could definitely be able to compete with the Atomic Slash, because it's really debatable which one's faster. In my opinion, I think the flashy kick is probably faster than the Atomic Slash, but I'll make a whole video about those two eventually. But I do think Sonic would definitely be able to keep it competitive with Atomic Samurai. It's even possible he might even be able to defeat him at this point. Chase C asks, hey Shonen, still watching every video, and I'm glad to see the channel's alive and well, and hope the support helps, and thank you for all the great content. Hey, thank you for all the support, Chase. It really does help. My main question this week is a matchup of Black S versus Drive Knight. Who do you think would win and why? So at this point, we haven't seen enough of Drive Knight for really me to say that he would beat him. Now, the potential of Drive Knight, I think, could probably defeat Black S. It would ultimately come down to him having to vaporize him. So does he have enough power to do that? Well, as we've seen of right now, not really. But like I said, we haven't really seen his full power, and he was definitely holding back against Neon, who he, burnt to a crisp because he was trying to keep him alive so he could be his guinea pig. But that crazy amount of power that he was able to generate, like, we didn't see exactly what he did, but we just saw the explosion of it. Something like that is definitely what you need to be able to begin to take down Black S. Now, also, him being able to, like, really defeat Black S, he'd have to come prepared. He'd have to have, like, his data analyzed and all of that, like what he did with Neon. Now, he does have data on Black S. We saw, what he supplied to Segengar and everything, but that probably wasn't, like, the same that he was able to accrue from Neon. So at this point, I think Black S would probably still overcome Drive Knight, like gang up on him. And given that, Drive Knight is still pretty fast and pretty durable, right now, I think it would be a little unfair to say that he would just straight up defeat Black S. Now, maybe Black S by himself, maybe he could take him out, maybe he can, like, vaporize him with whatever crazy techniques he truly has, but then we have to, account for Golden S. And even Drive Knight Gold is probably not enough for him right now. Now, in theory, the full potential of Drive Knight is probably enough to take down both Black S and Golden S. But until we see it, I'm going to say right now that Black S is probably going to take this match, at least from what we've seen of Drive Knight in Chapter 118. Free-Tshirts asks, "Hey Shonen, hope you're doing well. What do you think would have happened if a MemePriest and the three disciples followed the original plan and stayed on the surface with the rest of the support team? And what would have been different with Drive Knight and Genos appearing?" So this is interesting, and like in the unlikely scenario that a MemePriest would actually, go along with that, I think things would probably play out how you would assume. Like, he would definitely, wind up fighting Neon, and I think that he could probably defeat Neon. Now, would he defeat him as, easily or the same type of difficulty that Drive Knight had? Probably more difficulty because, Drive Knight had the analysis coming in and he had a whole bunch of different transformation answers for him, as a MemePriest would just be doing what a MemePriest does, fast, powerful martial arts based style. But I think that's more than enough to probably take down Neon in like a mid or high difficulty. But nonetheless, he would definitely take him out. And then maybe even if he had the support of the disciples with him, which he probably wouldn't want them assisting him. But this would ultimately like conflict with what Drive Knight wants, because he kind of used Neon as a bargaining chip kind of to like prove his loyalty to the Hero Association and to convince Segengar to give him the more information that he wanted. So he could probably use a MemePriest for this as well. Like, he could probably just convince a MemePriest of the same thing that he was trying to convince Segengar. Like, hey, look, I'm a good guy. Check out all this info that I got on the executives. Also, by the way, Metal Knight, he sucks, right? Oh, and do you know Blast? Would he show up? I'm sure you'd probably do the same stuff to a MemePriest. And maybe a MemePriest would be easier to convince of that stuff than even Segengar, because, a MemePriest is, kind of like that absolute justice. And even if he, like, complimented a MemePriest, it would probably work more so in his favor. And then, like, if G5 showed up, a MemePriest would probably just one-shot him. So that would, like, hurt Drive Knight in that way. And then ultimately Drive Knight wouldn't fight a MemePriest. And then Genos showing up, I think he would just kind of have a similar thing go down. Like, he wouldn't have to save everyone, but he would definitely have words with a MemePriest. And they don't really hate each other. Like, a MemePriest kind of likes Genos. They did kind of have that beefy moment at the end of the Boros invasion, but still, I think a MemePriest would probably be happy that Genos showed up and is willing to help with everything. Geruda asks, "Hey Shonen, do you think the winner of Habib versus Tony should retire right after the fight and ride off as the GOAT? If not, why? Thanks." So I think if Habib wins, he should definitely retire, because at that point he will have defeated everyone that he needed to defeat, and especially Tony, who was his ultimate adversary and his most worthy opponent. And if he can beat him like definitively, then it's pretty much done for him, and he can retire with like a crazy undefeated record. He can kind of just be like the Mayweather of the sport. Now, it would be awesome if he had some super fights after this, like if he went against Usman, or if he had that, mythical GSP fight, which probably isn't going to happen anymore. I'd love to see it, but he doesn't really need to do it. Like, just being the undisputed lightweight champion and the greatest lightweight of all time is more than enough for him. But if Tony wins, I think Tony should probably stick around for like another 3 years or something, like defend the belt a few more times, get some more gigantic matchups in his favor. Actually, Tony is more so able to move up in weight, I think, and be more successful there. But aside from that, like, if they have like a definitive victor on either end, then, you know, then we should start talking about retirement stuff. But if they have like a close match, like if it's a split decision or like a contentious decision, then we should definitely have a rematch. And I know a lot of people have talked about this fight possibly being like a trilogy, which totally makes sense because we have like the two best fighters in this weight class, two of the best fighters in MMA, period, pound for pound. So they're probably gonna have to fight more than once. But if like Khabib totally crushes Tony, then he should just retire. Like, you know, Conor said it best. Like, get in, make as much money and much of an impact as you can, and then get out. You want to take as, you know, the least amount of damage you can, because CTE and, like, the other bodily damage that you receive is real, and you kind of just want to mitigate that as much as you can. Juris D asks, hey Z, I'm now realizing that my old question was rather dumb, so I spent a couple minutes brainstorming this. Hey Juris, don't worry about, like, if you think your question's dumb, or if you think that I'm going to think your question's dumb. You can really ask me anything. You know, just as long as it falls within the guidelines of YouTube, and then I actually have the ability of answering it. So, you know, just don't worry about that stuff. If you want to ask any question, feel free. And that goes for everyone else, too. Who would win? Every non-monster, Monster Association monster, so like Deep Sea King, House of Evolution, Beefcake, King Pluto, Ancient King, etc., or the entire Monster Association, so like the Cadres, Orochi, even the Tiger level ones. Hope this question is better. Stay safe and have a good one. P.S. I've got something in the works to show you, and I can't wait to show you. Hey, I'm looking forward to that, Juris. So, you know, whenever you're ready to show me, feel free to. But also, I think the Monster Association probably sweeps this one. Just like Orochi alone could probably take care of everyone. Like, even Beefcake, Pluton, Carnage, Kabuto. Like, Orochi's, like, outrageously overpowered, even if he's not firing off those crazy blasts. But, like, not even taking Orochi into consideration, like, just the cadres, like, given that they're all here, like, all alive at the same time, they're still too much for everyone else. Like, just like Elder Centipede could probably take down like Beefcake, and then like just even like Black S, I think could probably take down Beefcake. Like, just imagine like all of the Black S clones like just climbing and just like surrounding Beefcake like a horde of like spiders on him, like all punching in his eyes and face and everything. It would be epic to see. And then you have like the crazy support from like Rover and Homeless Emperor. It's just way too much for all of these guys to just compete with. Like, Psycho said it best when it was like super difficult to get all of these dragon level monsters together, because when you do, you have like this unstoppable army, especially when you have like all the powerful ones like that we have here. It's just way too much for like the House's Evolution, which only really has like Carnage, Kabuto. And then even like Beefcake and Pluton, they're limited in what they can do. So it's like, yeah, the Monster Association, even without Orochi, is just way too much. Legandaryus asks, hey Shonen, have no question this week, but wanted to know what kind of invading force you would use to take over the One Punch Man world successfully. Good luck, Saitama will one punch all opposition. And I do agree with that, but there is probably some people that we could pick to overcome the world, and maybe even Saitama himself. So I won't be like too unfair. I won't say like the Angels from Dragon Ball or the Cosmic Beams from Marvel or anything, but like to keep it somewhat realistic and fair, we'll say like maybe I pick the Pride Troopers, because, you know, they're probably more than enough in theory, their power to what it's said to be if we're just upscaling everyone. Like Jiren could just fight Saitama. I'm not gonna get into who would win because it doesn't matter. And then like Topo and Dispo would probably be enough, considering how powerful they could be, you know, quote unquote. Probably more than enough to take out everyone else. MemePriest asks, hey Shonen, my question this time is how powerful do you think Genos would be if he was made up of the melted metal that the T-1000 is made of? So this would just make Genos like almost overpowered, like, because one of his big drawbacks is his like vulnerability and the durability that comes with that. Now he has kind of fixed it because, you know, he can come back together, and it really remains to be seen if he could do that in his Daedric form, probably, considering that this is just a big upgrade from EC. But then again, it goes into the whole non-balancing factor. But if he was made of this crazy malleable metal, he'd be like Black S without the cloning ability, and then he could just make any weapons he wants. I mean, I don't think he'd be above Dragon at that point, but he would definitely be a high Dragon. I mean, come on. He'd almost be like to the point of where you have to vaporize him, I guess. Now, you know, T-1000 was melted by or whatever happened to him when he was dipped into the lava, so he is probably easier to defeat than Black S. So like a good powerful blast, like maybe the Millennium Emperor Nova or something like that, could take him out. So yeah, I'm also thinking like he's not above Dragon, but man, it's really improving so many of the weaknesses and vulnerabilities that Genos had coming into this. That would be interesting if it could somehow get to that point of him getting that. I think it's unlikely considering we haven't seen anything like it yet, but it is possible that like Dr. Cruceno would probably develop something like that, or maybe Metal Knight. Maybe that's the apex of Metal Knight. Like he has some kind of robot metal stuff like liquid like that. Mr. Awesome asks, hey Shonen, I've been a fan for a while and have always loved your Q&A videos, but I've only gotten around to being a patron now. Hey, thanks, Mr. Awesome. I appreciate you just checking out my stuff and then finally deciding to support me. So thank you again. Anyway, my question is, who do you think would win in a fight? Saitama from his fight with Crablante or Moomin Rider? I look forward to your answer. You rock. Hey, you rock, Mr. Awesome. So surprisingly, I think Saitama would probably pull this one out. Now, Moomin Rider doesn't really have that good of a track record. I think like his best confirmed victory actually probably came from an audiobook. Maybe it was the third one when he defeated like the Angry Grandpa monster, who I think might have been a tiger? I don't even know if they give him a disaster level. He's probably like a wolf or something. But like, given that Crablante was pretty powerful even for a tiger, and like from what we've seen of Moomin Rider, it doesn't really seem like he'd probably be able to replicate what Saitama did. Or I'm just assuming that he wouldn't. I mean, I'm not saying that he wouldn't be able to defeat him eventually, like maybe. But like, Crablante was pretty powerful, and I'm surprised just legitimately how well that regular base Saitama was able to do against him, because he took some good shots, came back from it, and then the whole tie ordeal with pulling his eye out and all of his organs coming with it. So would Moomin Rider be able to do that? It's difficult to say, but I think that he would get into a good scrap with Moomin Rider. And then it would ultimately come down to, like, who makes the other one quit, I guess. And they both, don't quit. They both have really good endurance. But Saitama obviously has the most endurance and the most drive. So he would probably eventually defeat Moomin Rider in, like, a pretty brutal fight. Nico L asks, Hola, Shonen, I was thinking, do you remember the first sludge monster in My Hero Academia that All Might was trying to catch and ended up killing? Who do you think would win in a fight between him and Sludge Jellyfish? So surprisingly, this guy actually wasn't killed by All Might. He survived that, and then he was just like in prison. So I think that also goes into who I'd probably pick winning this one, because they both surprisingly have good feats of surviving, I guess, because Sludge Jellyfish survived a punch from Hero Hunter Garo, survived being exploded from within from the oil that Child Emperor put in him, and then getting sliced up and all that stuff. So he's durable, at least from like a malleable liquid standpoint. And then given that the sludge villain survived a Detroit smash to the face, also All Might was probably holding back, because sludge villain is still technically a human and he probably didn't want to kill him, but still pretty impressive. So I mean, they're both very similar, and then So Sludge Jellyfish kind of have more feats than the Sludge Villain or Sludge Jellyfish does, so it's difficult to say. I think it would be high diff for both of them, but I'd put my money on the Sludge Villain. Maybe because he also has that ability to, like, overcome others and, like, fuse them into himself or something, like what he was trying to do to Izuku and Bakugo. So I'm sure that he could probably absorb Sludge Jellyfish, too. Probably even easier. And given that I think he survived the best the attack here from the Detroit Smash, so I'd put my money on the Sludge Villain. So that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank all 100 of my overpowered, beautiful patrons, guys. I love you so much. I can't thank you enough for everything that you do for me. And if you would like to be in next week's Q&A, just simply check out the Patreon. The $5 tier will give you access to this video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.